Hey everyone, my name's Sarah and I'm doing a ration challenge to raise money for Syrian refugees in Jordan, which I thought would be a very interesting experience that I could share with you. So for 7 days, starting today, which is Sunday the 13th of June, I'm going to be eating the same rations, the same food as a Syrian refugee, which is not a lot. But I will go through that later. I not only wanted to do this for a personal challenge, but I also wanted to use it as a way to be able to connect with people who are on the other side of the world, who are living very different lives to mine. Sometimes it can be hard to truly connect with the hardships that these people are going through. I mean, I live a very privileged life and these issues aren't on the forefront of my mind. And so by having food, which is something that I need to eat every day, that everyone needs to eat every day, by having that restricted, I am hoping that I'm able to connect with these people more and to be able to really empathize with the issues that they are facing. So I will be taking you through the next 7 days, and if you have any inclination to donate to this cause, I'll leave the link to the donation page down below. So the amount of rations that we get for the week is outlined by the organisation that's running this event, which is called Act for Peace. Also, because of donation targets that have been met by donations that have been kindly donated by people who have donated English. Because of those donation targets, I have been able to add things onto my base that I have. For example, I'm able to get unlimited salt, I'm able to get unlimited spice, a little bit of milk, and a little bit of one vegetable, which is going to be so helpful as the week goes by. But let's just have a look at what we have. First thing is the rice, and this is going to be what I'm going to be eating pretty much every meal of every day this week. There's 1.92 kilograms of rice here, and it's going to be interesting to see how this can be changed up with spice or adding different beans with it, which there aren't that many. The second thing is flour, and there's 400 grams of flour here, and so this can be made into flatbread, and that's pretty much it. It's just something different from rice. And then we have beans and legumes. So there's about 80 grams of chickpeas in here, and that's probably one serving. I have no idea what I'm going to make with this. Maybe a hummus with chickpeas and water and salt, and maybe if I soak some of these chickpeas, I can toss it with some paprika, smoked paprika, which is my spice of choice. Then we have lentils. There's 170 grams in here, and again, this is going to be with rice, or you could again make a puree with this. Then we have red kidney beans, and you get 1 can, so 400 grams. Then we have the protein, and because I'm vegetarian, I use tofu, but if you're not, then you use like maybe chicken. There's 120 grams in here, which is probably less than one serve for me. And then we have 300 milliliters of veggie oil, so that's going to be good for frying anything up. And then we have milk, so there's about 210 milliliters of oat milk in here, and that's because I was able to reach a target of mine. And I also get 2 teaspoons of sugar because of another target that I met. Also for my vegetable, I get up to 120 grams, and I was thinking of adding spinach to that because spinach is quite lightweight, but you get quite densely packed with that. So basically those are my rations for the week. It's gonna be very interesting to see how it all divvies up. My next step, which I'm going to be doing today, is making a food plan, and I will take you through that when I get to it. For the meal plan, I basically just looked at the recipe book that they gave us on the challenge website and then deducted how much food I had and what they needed for the meals. I think it was important to do this, otherwise I would have literally eaten everything on the first 2 or 3 days and left nothing for the end. For day 1, I decided not to eat breakfast and lunch and decided only to eat dinner. And I did that as a way to try and keep some rations for later on when I thought I needed them the most. So for dinner, I decided to do a fried tofu and rice. For day 2, I decided to do the same thing with fried rice and fried tofu. This was actually really good, although I got very sick of paprika after this meal and I pretty much didn't have it afterwards. I also had one of my tea bags, which we were allowed 10 of for this challenge. For lunch, I decided to make flour tortillas with the red kidney beans. So we first started off by taking the red kidney beans out of the jar, and to make this paste you needed about 100 grams of red kidney beans and its paste. I added some salt and I also added some spice, and then you cook this over the heat for a few minutes until it consolidated. And then with the flour you need about 100 grams minus a little bit just for some dusting when you roll out the dough. Then adding a little bit of water and then using your hands to knead it all together. You wanted it to be a little bit wet, but as you will see, I failed at this completely, and it was very, very sticky. Then I broke this into two to make 2 small tortillas and rolled this out, again with it being very sticky, onto the bench. It was really hard using a limited amount of flour because otherwise I would have used more. Then you want to add some oil into the pan so it's hot, then add the tortilla, and when it cooks it turns into this lovely golden crust. To make the paste you want to mash all the beans together, and then you can just kind of spread it on just like toast, and it was actually a really good meal that I would be very keen to eat again. For dinner, I decided to make boiled lentils and rice. There's not much rice in here. I was very tired and I added a lot less, but this was pretty average. So it's the evening of day number 2. It's almost 10 p.m. and I'm feeling very sorry for myself. I'm quite delirious from the lack of calories that I'm getting and the lack of fiber and sugar, so I'm not having a great time over here. It's the end of day 3. I didn't have breakfast this morning and I only had a little bit of lunch. I think it was a combination of me being busy with work, but also I just did not want to face another rice meal. The lack of variation is what's challenging me the most so far, and it's almost easier to not eat than to want to eat another meal. For dinner on day 3, I decided to do like a rice porridge thing. So basically you put a lot more water with the rice and it turns it into this sludgy sort of texture. But with the milk that I had with the tea, I poured it over, and then I also added some sugar as well just to sweeten it up a little bit. And it was still a little bit bland, but it was actually quite nice, and I was very proud of my creativeness. On day 4, I decided to do fried rice with an egg for breakfast and lunch. Now I got 2 eggs because of some of the donations that I got throughout this challenge, which I was so excited for. So I decided to fry 1 egg for both the breakfast and the lunch, which I ate together. And then I added some rice that I cooked up from the night before and just tossed it all down in the pan with the oil. The oil was giving me the energy throughout the challenge, and I learned that that was the best way to get flavour towards the end. And then I realised that the stove was on half full rather than full, which is why it took about half an hour to cook. But anyways, I put it all in a container, I added some spinach, and then I added the egg on top, and to be honest, egg has never tasted so good. It was one of the best meals that I had this week. In saying that, it was nothing like what we had at lunch today. I had to walk past this buffet lunch and look with it with very keen eyes. So it's the end of the 4th day and I just realised I haven't pooed in like 3 days, which is crazy, but obviously because I'm not getting enough fibre, I'm not eating veggies, I'm not eating fruits, but I don't think I've been this long without at least taking a constipated poo, let alone no poos. So we're coming to the day of number 5, and this week I've dropped all my classes, so I'm not doing any high intensity interval training, and I'm basically only doing yoga just so I can keep my body moving. But this morning I tried a different yoga class that was a bit intermediate to advanced. It wasn't too challenging,
But there was a point where I felt so incredibly lightheaded. I couldn't feel or see anything. I couldn't react. It was after doing a wide leg forward fold for 30 seconds, and then when you roll up, usually you get a little bit of a head rush, but this one, like, I could not see, hear, just kind of went all inwards for 10 seconds, and I felt I lost all control of my body. And that's probably because of the lack of food that I'm eating, but also the lack of sugar and the lack of glucose in my system, not giving me enough energy to keep my body functions rolling. And that was a little bit scary, but everything else was okay, and everything else is in order.
For dinner, I decided to fry up some of the rice and some leftover lentils that I had from the night before. Now, in this challenge, I really wanted to watch a documentary or read more about the refugee crises around the world. Now, this documentary is called Human Flow, and it came out in 2017, and I actually watched it in the cinema, but it was interesting to watch it again and be so relevant to the challenge on hand. For lunch on day 6, I decided to do another tortilla wrap with some of the red kidney beans. I added some spinach, and then I fried up some more of the leftover rice and lentils. And then I turned it into this sort of wrap taco thing, which was a genius idea, albeit a little bit messy. I decided to treat myself for the morning of day 7 with a milk tea. I had left over a little bit of oat milk that I could have. Fuck, that's all grey. Oh, bit of nothing though. I'm just annoyed at whoever mixed up the labels for the different teas that we have. I think this week has really made me appreciate again the little things that make a difference, like a tea or salt. My goodness. For the last dinner, I had all my leftover chickpeas, so I decided to soak them for about 8 hours, and I was intending to crush them up and make them into a hummus, but they were still too hard, so I had to give up on that idea. But they're not soaked enough yet. Number 1 failed. Come on. Hey, George. Can you smell the food? Cheers to a very anticlimactic last night. I just ended up frying the chickpeas as hard as they were with some rice and did the last bit of spinach. Yeah. Can't really complain. I'm very excited for tomorrow. You will eat anything, just like me. So today is Monday, and yesterday was the first day off the challenge. I was intending to film some of the food that I ate, but I just got so carried away. I think the best thing was the coffee that I had in the morning. It was just so good. This challenge was really challenging. I think this is one of the first times where I've had a lot of my food taken away for a substantial amount of time, and I've really had to change my habits and my perspectives and try and find joy in other places other than food. It made me realize how much privilege I live in and just how abundant the food that we have. Like, I wasn't able to have any fruits and very little vegetables during this week, and that's what I have daily. I have 5 to 6 servings of fruit and veggie a day, whereas these people don't. They have very little range and variety, which was one of the most challenging parts of the experience. It also made me understand why we eat food in a very privileged society. We don't just eat it for the nutrients, but we also eat because it brings people together. It brings us a sense of joy as well, something to look forward to. With this challenge, not having something nice to look forward to because you're just having rice every day, it made it a lot more challenging to keep going. And I had to find joy in other things. In saying that, it also made me realize like how much we need nutrients from the food that we ate. As I mentioned before, like I only pooed once this week. This was only a week, but imagine what my body would have been like if this was for a month. Imagine what the people who are living on this every day for long periods of time, how their bodies are. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and maybe it inspired you to change something up. Maybe it inspired you to try this challenge next year. I think I'll probably do it as well, just to not fall into complacency, to really value and understand the privilege that we have living in New Zealand. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Just a disclaimer that even though I did do this challenge, it does not nearly give me the full picture of what these people are going through. Food insecurity is definitely a big problem that Syrian refugees are facing, but this is one of many issues, and I am very privileged to be able to go back to living normally for this. So even though I did participate, it does not give me a full understanding of what they are going through.